Hello, Boston AI ML user group. We're going to be doing some AI assisted software development today. I'm going to build something from scratch with minimal editing, mostly just to eliminate any dead air, speed up slow things like processing that might be happening, etc. My goal is to provide an intro for anyone who hasn't used these tools much before to show you how easily and quickly you can get started and get substantial things done. For the more experienced people, I want to provide some pointers on how to use these tools to their full potential. One note, I'm calling this AI-assisted software development, not vibe coding. There's a reason for this. Everyone has a different definition of vibe coding. Here's the original tweet from Andres Karpathy. It's worth noting, he said, this wasn't bad for weekend projects. Not exactly a ringing endorsement. Let's break down what he says it is. So there's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give in to the vibes, embrace the exponentials, whatever that means, and forget that the code even exists. It's possible because the LLMs are getting too good. Then he continues, and he says, the code grows beyond my usual comprehension. I'd have to really read through it for a while. Sometimes the LLM can't fix a bug, so I just work around it or ask for random changes until it goes away. Wow, not spectacular, not necessarily the way we want to do software development. It's not too bad for throwaway weekend projects. It's quite amusing, and it mostly works. Again, not a ringing endorsement, not necessarily how we want to develop software, and so we're going to talk about that. In common usage, I've seen it as a catch-all for just the use of AI tools. Other people use it to indicate a new paradigm where you no longer have to look at the code as if the magic AI will handle everything and you just have to prompt. Maybe they'll throw in something about agents or AGI. Very clearly, I think that's kind of bullshit, but we'll see what the future holds. Other people use it as an insult to mean AI slop, so it's not a very useful term. Software development, meanwhile, is well defined. It's the process of designing, coding, testing, and deploying software. We just happen to be doing it using AI as a tool now. So, what are we going to do? First, I'm going to introduce the tool we'll be using, Cursor, and how it works. Second, we're going to develop a simple web app that allows us to propose ideas and vote on them. So, let's look at what we'll be building today. I've already built this out in advance, but we're going to do it all from scratch. And you're going to be presented with a web UI, and the web UI will allow you to propose a new idea. So let's say coding while drinking is my idea for what we should be doing this stream. I'll propose it, and you'll notice we just got another idea that we can vote on. If we scroll down, it's sorted by the number of votes. We can vote on an idea. And we get some nice confetti and a little feedback, and it bounces up because it's being dynamically sorted. We could also clear our vote, or we could vote against it, and we get a little sad sound. So this is what we're going to be building. We're going to use NextJS, a full stack JavaScript framework, and we're going to start by creating a project scaffold for that. You're probably wondering, why not use AI? And that's a great question. I would say the golden rule of using AI is to only use it when there isn't already a better or faster way that already exists. For all AI's strengths, it has a number of weaknesses. From run to run, it may produce very different results. It can potentially hallucinate. It has a knowledge cutoff date additionally, so it may not know about the latest versions or ways to do things, and it might give you a very different looking scaffold or even an incorrect one. So whenever possible, go with a known deterministic way of doing things. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Next.js site. We're going to get this command that will create a next app. We're going to copy it. We are going to open up a terminal. And we're going to run that command. Let's put this on my desktop. So we'll go onto the desktop. And then we are going to create a next app, and we are going to call it our vote app and go ahead and create it. And so right now what it's doing is it's pulling in all the dependencies that it needs. It's installing things. You can see it needs to pull down about 30 megs here. So it's going dependency by dependency, and this should be done in just a moment. And it's going to give us a really strong base for actually using AI. All right, so let's go to my desktop now. And we have the voting app right here. So I'm going to open this with Cursor. Sorry, let me close out of the existing ones. So this is what Cursor would look like when you open it for the first time. What Cursor is it is a VS Code fork that is designed for the purposes of doing AI-driven development. You might wonder, what is VS Code? VS Code is the most popular editor. It comes from Microsoft. It's used by software developers all over, and it happens to be open source. Because it's open source and so incredibly popular, you can see it has 180,000 stars, it's become a very popular forking target, meaning taking the code and repurposing it for your own use. And you can do this because it's under an MIT license. So there have been a number of startups like Cursor, which I believe is valued at $10 billion right now. Yeah, Cursor in talks to raise money at a $10 billion valuation. So this is a very rich area right now, and this is a good editor to use. So we are going to open the folder we just created on our desktop. It's called the Vote app. Let's go ahead and let's open it. And I'm going to break down what all these different window panes are. So on the far left, you have all your files in this directory. If we were to click through, it'll be displayed in the main pane. And I could make changes here to the file. I have auto-saving on, which is very useful. If I didn't, you would just need to save the file. And then on the right is what most of the hype is all about. You have the ability to chat with an agent that can see everything that's going on in your code base. You can ask it to do work, to plan, or you can ask it about the code base. So let's just quickly tell me what this code base is. Its ability to explain is actually pretty exceptional, and I think people should use this quite a bit more. It'll take about maybe 10, 15 seconds, and you can see it's reading through each of the files to understand more about the directory that it's in, and then eventually it should tell me something like, this is a NextJS application, yeah, NextJS project, currently a fresh starter template. The name suggests a voting app, but no voting functionality is implemented yet. 100%, great. It talks more about the structure, cool. So what we're going to do now is we are going to prompt it because we know, because I showed you earlier, what we want, essentially. Oh, I should show you one other thing. So Git is an incredibly valuable thing, source control. This is really important because remember, AI can mislead us, it can screw things up, it can do all kinds of things that we don't necessarily want. So right now, we have an initial commit. This happened 3 minutes ago. And what this means is you can imagine it like if you're climbing a mountain and you're occasionally pounding in pegs so that if you were to fall, you only fall down so far. You don't go all the way to the bottom of the canyon and die. Instead, you just fall to your most recent checkpoint. So that's a very useful way of thinking about things. All right, so let's get into creating the application that we just saw. Okay, I know I keep teasing it, but I keep remembering things that I would have to show to a beginner in order for them to understand everything. So before we get to prompting, we're just about to do it. We're just about to start doing AI things. We are going to open a new terminal in VS Code, which hilariously, I don't know how to do outside of the short. Here we go. We'll do this. Command-Shift-P, and then terminal, create new terminal. We'll go ahead and we'll just accept the default it gave us. All right, now we have a terminal down here. We are going to run pnp run dev. And you're going to see that it says we're now serving on localhost 3000. If we click, command click, we're going to be served the web page. Now, where is this coming from? This is coming from the NextJS application, which by default will serve in-app the page. So let's put these side by side, and you're going to see something really cool here. So on the left is what's rendered. And if we make a change, so for example, to get started, maybe we're really excited about getting started, you can see it's immediately reflected in there. So we're going to leave this. This is called a development server, and it's currently doing hot module reloading, which just means it takes code and it immediately compiles it and displays it over here. So it's a really nice development flow. So I wanted you to first see this, and now I want to show you a very simple use of AI. We're going to do a quick edit, which you can see is right here, or we could have used Command K. And we're going to say, write a poem about software dev, and hit enter. It's generating, and you can see it come out in real time. It's updated over there. Very nice. And this is one of the crucial things that takes you from being a vibe coder to being an actual software developer who's doing things in a principled way. What the agent will present you with is it shows the difference in green here, and it allows you to either keep or undo the change. You should be reviewing all the changes to make sure that you agree with what it's done. In this case, I don't care all that much, so I could keep or undo, but let's undo just for the sake of learning. Before we undo, though, remember the checkpoints I told you about. These checkpoints over here, it's watching our progress to see how we move from here, from the prior checkpoint to the place we are. So if I click here, it will show me everything that's changed since the checkpoint, which is just the AI prompting. So this is a very important safety measure, and reviewing everything that's being done is another very important safety measure. I'm going to throw this away so we have a little more space, and I will undo in this case, and everything's back to normal. So that was our first taste of doing a little bit of prompting over in this editor. And actually, I like things going left to right. I think that's a more logical way to view things. So the code on the left becomes this rendered output on the right. Okay, so now we're going to actually do some full agentic style stuff. So we're going to do a more involved prompt that is going to hit multiple files. And I've already written it out, so you won't have to watch me type. And I'm going to create an application that allows for the proposal of new ideas, which should be displayed into a list. Ideas should be ordered by vote. You should be able to vote for or against an idea. And I'm going to specify that this would be +1, and against would be -1, an idea. Each individual can only vote once on a given idea. So we'll go ahead and we'll run this. And in the same manner that we saw with when we asked, we're going to see a list of different actions that it's taking. So it creates a to-do, a series of steps that it thinks that it needs to take in order to complete this. So first off, it thinks it needs to create a data model and state management for ideas and votes, which makes a lot of sense to me. As you're doing this, as you're prompting, you should be reviewing its plans and seeing if things make sense to you logically. Next, it says it will create an idea form for proposing new ideas. Again, makes a lot of sense. Create an idea list to display. Yeah, makes sense to me. Implement voting logic. and finally update the main page to integrate. So it happened very fast because AI is going to be incredibly good, and this is a fairly simple thing, but it's going to show us each file that it changed, how many lines it changed. So in this case, it added 12 lines, and it just updated that right then. So in this case, it created a new file and added 12 lines. It created another called use ideas. It gave it 109 lines. Okay, I'm not going to make you read through all this, but I would highly recommend as you do things, it's really important that you actually review what's being done. It will actually give a summary at the bottom, so it'll tell you technical details of how it did it, and this is also worth reviewing. And you could go file by file through this review. Let's close this one. And you could accept, so keep the changes in a file, or undo, reject them. So in this case, this is a very simple file. This seems fair to me. We have an idea. An idea is defined as having an ID, so like a hidden key field that helps distinguish things. Text, so like what idea are you proposing? The number of votes, plus or minus, you have, and then a creation time. That makes sense. And then a user vote. Again, it's associated with an idea, ID, and it also has a vote. So it's either up or down. So it makes sense. We would take that. This one's more involved. And again, since this is more of just a fun thing, I'm not actually going to review everything. I'm going to just say, let's accept all the changes for now, close the review, and let's see if it's working. And it's going to be very important. So down here is the server. This is what's running. So we're going to get output from here. So my first idea is just try accepting the changes. And this seems to have worked pretty well. We have a +1, a -1. Let's try voting on it. Okay, we can cancel out our vote if we hit it more than once. We can change our vote. Yeah, this is fantastic. This is most of what we wanted. Let's just make sure, though. I want to get a dog. Dogs are the best. Or maybe a cat. So let's say I voted for a dog, and then I'm going to create another browser. And there are a lot of deficiencies with what this has given us, and I'll talk about them in a little bit. But already, this is fairly amazing that it can get this out of the gate. So I'm going to open up Chrome and navigate to localhost 3000. And this seems like a problem, because why can't I see the other ideas? I'm going to propose an idea. Let's see, get a giraffe. It appears for me, but when I refresh, it doesn't appear for the other person. These are separate browsers. So that tells me we have a problem already. And one of the things, remember, we were talking about checkpoints, and we were talking about making sure that everything is okay before we move on and not falling too far back. This is pretty good at this point. I would go through and I would review, especially here where we're getting some complaints about these are kind of linting issues. Not fatal, but definitely not the best practice. So if I were developing for real, I would go through, I would address these. Actually, let's do quick fix, and we'll fix with AI. And we'll see what it gives us. See if it fixes the linting issues. And it did. And we can see exactly what it did as we review. It declared the button type. So there's this thing called arias. It's spelled like aria. And I believe it's an acronym for like helping people with disabilities to be able to better use technologies. And one of the things they need is screen readers. And so you should declare the type, even if it's a type already that says it's button, just so the screen reader knows. So we'll keep both of those. So again, normally I would go through all the changes and I would make sure I agree with everything, that there are no complaints. Here's another minor complaint here. Imports and exports are not sorted. This doesn't really matter. But given that we're trying to do this quickly, we're going to just say basic voting works, but doesn't seem to communicate to other clients. Other people can't see what's going on. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to commit, and you're going to see down here, we're going to add another checkpoint. Okay, great. So we've saved where we are. So even if we screw everything up, we're still good. Now let's go down here and let's tell the AI that we're having a serious problem here. So basic voting works, but different clients don't see each other's ideas or votes. This is meant to be a collaborative voting app. This is a problem. Please fix. All right. So we gave it a description roughly of what the problem is. We weren't very prescriptive. Like there's a lot of things that I would do if it were up to me and I were building this for real. You know, I would tell it specifically how I wanted it to implement it. In this case, we're just going to see what it does. And here we're seeing that it's going to use local storage so that everything is sharing data. We'll see if it actually works or not. Sorry, it's moving on me here. And we can watch it work. While it's working, let's talk about additional features we want. So we want to be able to see each other's votes, and we're working on that currently. And it's giving a ton of changes here. We should probably begin to actually kind of look at things. And we may. Again, I don't want to make this too dry and too boring, but you should be looking at all the changes. You should be understanding everything that goes in. Beyond this, I think we need sound effects, confetti, and those things for when we vote. That was one of the things we had in what I demoed. And then I think at that point, we're done. So we're almost there. It's worth noting, remember how I said this is a debug server that's always hot reloading? You can actually see down here it compiling as it makes changes to all the different files. So it is constantly updating this, and at different times it may be broken or not. All right, so let's just read at a high level. Server-side data storage. So we have this store, it's an in-memory data store. I'm not sure if that's going to work, but we'll find out. We will pull, it looks like, from these different API endpoints that it's created. So if we wanted to get all the ideas, we go against this endpoint. If we wanted to create a new idea, we would post to that endpoint. These are all HTTP verbs. So like a get is when you go to Google in your browser, you're doing a get. Okay, we updated to poll for updates. Okay, polling is not the best way of doing things, but that's okay. And we're making sure that people don't vote more than once by having a unique ID. So it continues, but let's see if it works. So ABC, we proposed it, we voted. Let's go back to Chrome. Magic, DEF, let's propose it, and then it refreshes. Now, I'm very interested to see whether this persists when we bring the server down. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to Control C, because I think this is all being done in memory. And if it's done in memory, then when the server goes down, all our votes would go away, which would not be a great thing. I hope you're seeing AI tends to address the most immediate concern, whatever you've said, but it doesn't always necessarily think broader. and we could have it plan, and that would probably be a good idea to kind of give an overarching story on how we're going to implement everything. But right now I'm trying to just introduce things one step at a time. So let's see what happens. So I'm bringing the server down, and now I'm going to bring it back up, and we have no ideas. Now this is disappointing. So we made some improvements. I'm going to say we're going to keep them all. We will say now it shares across clients, but no persistent memory. So we're making progress. We're making our checkpoints. And I'm going to introduce one other thing. So you might remember Andres Karpathy talked about using Super Whisper, which was a way of doing voice dictation. It's much faster than typing. I don't use Super Whisper. I use this thing called Whispering, which is free, open source, and incredible. And it gives me this shortcut where I can record at any time. So I am going to do that because it's faster than typing. We have a problem right now where the votes and ideas are only stored in memory. We want votes and ideas to persist over time so that when the server comes back up, they're still present. Fix this. And I'll just quickly review to make sure the transcription is good. And it looks good. So let's kick it off. So this looks good. So file-based persistence rather than in memory. This looks like it's taking the right actions. And while it's doing that, I'm going to also start talking about the final thing, the confetti and the sounds and everything else. On voting for an idea, I would like a nice, pleasant sound. Or actually, let's have several sounds that you can select from. And there should be confetti that explodes on the screen to celebrate the vote. On downvoting, the screen should flash a little bit of red, shake, and give an unpleasant sound. All right, just reviewing. That's good. This is actually waiting for us. So you can choose to allow this to do many things for you, or you can kind of restrict it a bit. I tend to restrict what it can do because I don't trust AI all that much. I think it's fantastic, but I don't want it running arbitrary commands. So there it was asking me if I wanted to add something. And so I have to watch it a bit. I like that a lot more than, they call it YOLO mode or dangerous permissions mode. And yeah, I'm going to pass on that one. All right, so again, we would read, but we are going fast here just to get the point across and make sure that things work. So let's make sure first we're still communicating, that we haven't broken anything. Yes, we're communicating. And did we fix our immediate problem? Will this come back up with an A when we bring the server back up? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. As we look through, so this is why the changes are so valuable, because you can know if you've been a disciplined developer and you've been following the changes, you can kind of know the whole code base, and then you can just look at, here are the different things that you changed, and it's, if you're scoping the changes to be appropriately sized, if you're not saying like, implement an entirely new application that does that sends us to the moon and does all kinds of amazing things. If you're doing feature by feature, it shouldn't be that much stuff to review. You can see this change was not much in those first 3 files, and then I would have to spend some time here, but not that much time, because I can see like it's doing a read file here, it has an ideas file. The idea file looks like it's ideas.json, and the votes is votes.json, and there's a data directory, and I know that I just added /data to the data directory, or to the gitignore, which makes me think right here is our data directory, and then we can see, hey, there's our vote for A, or, sorry, I know we're going fast here, get a doggo. So we can see that was updated. We've got to get a doggo. And if we vote for it, we see we have a vote, and the vote corresponds the idea ID for doggo. If we went back here, see they match. Cool. So this all makes a lot of sense, and I feel very comfortable committing this. So persistence implemented. Let's commit. And now we're going to make it jazzy and fancy. And then the final thing we're going to do is we're going to use the planning mode just to kind of look and see what would be good additions to this project going forward. So this is, again, it's prompting me. It wants me to allow this operation, and I'm going to allow it. It's adding this canvas confetti library, which is going to give us the cool animations. You can see here it's creating a sound.ts file. This is going to play different sounds, apparently. Looks like it's going to SoundJ. I don't know that website. Hopefully that works. In the last implementation I did, it had a really cool effect where it was actually synthesizing the music rather than like playing MP3s. So maybe I should have asked for that. Again, if you don't specify, then you're leaving it up to the AI to decide kind of how it should go about things and what it should do. I am going to take advantage of this moment that we have as we wait for this to come out. And I'm going to create another prompt, and I'm going to say, what would you advise to do to make this project more robust, scalable, secure, and just better overall implemented? Give concrete recommendations, tell me pluses and minuses, etc. And here, this is important. You'll notice the transcription was not perfect. So you save a lot of time by not having to type, but you do need to check it over at the end. So scalable, secure, better. Perfect. All right. So we are working on this. I may do a cut here just because it seems like it's going to take a moment. But we've almost re-implemented things, and I feel like we've been going for about 30 minutes. So pretty quick overall. And this is with me explaining. As you become more comfortable with this technology and way of development, you can do things much faster. I think I got my prototype out in about 10 minutes, 12 minutes, something like that. Oh my God. I am realizing what it's doing. It is trying to encode the entire sound file into the file. So this is the base64 encoding of a file. What it's doing is absolutely disgusting and terrible. And there's a reason why it's taking so long. And it's probably going to fail. And I am incredibly glad that we're seeing this together, because what you've seen up to this point is just AI is the best. AI is going to come and take over the world, man. AI is going to be everywhere. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's a good tool. It's a good tool. Don't get me wrong. But it is failing in a ridiculous way right now. So we are still stuck on this sound.ts file, which let's bring this up. So that is inside of oops. Why did it? I have no idea what just happened there. Let's do this. Command P, sound.ts. I guess it hasn't written the file yet. It's thinking about the file. Yeah, and it seems like it went a different route. You can see it's no longer doing the base64 encoding. So I'm not sure if it fixed itself or if I intervened by clicking on it and it realized what it was doing was insane when it tried to write it all to the file system. But what you can see here is no more base64 encoding, and it's using an oscillator. So this is what it was doing before when I first did it, where it's going to create, sorry, it's moving on me, create different sound waves by specifying like a wave type, so sine at 800 hertz, which I think is like an A, is going to happen for with a gain of 0.3. So that's kind of the sound amplitude. And you can see it has a schedule here. So it's going to, I think, start maybe at this low amplitude and go up. And it's going to run for half a second. All right. So it says that it succeeded. And we're going to check it out here. And that's pretty good. I don't think it should continue to be done, although it is a ton of fun. I think it should probably be a one-off type of thing where it's like you can do this once or not at all. Interestingly, it seems to have broken the voting. Let's refresh to be sure. So the vote count is 0. Still 0. Yes, so in the process of doing all this work, it actually broke something else. Broke voting. So you wouldn't want to have to always be manually testing and everything. Ideally, what you do is you would write unit tests and you would catch this earlier. But again, if we were to get into unit testing and everything else, this video would be quite a bit longer. For now, for simple things, you can just make sure that, hey, does everything still work that I expected to? If so, I'm a happy camper. If not, I need to reprompt. And if this really screwed everything up, I would just go over here and remember we have these checkpoints. I could go here and I could just discard all changes and I would go right back to there. So it's always possible. If we've screwed everything up too much, just wipe it all out, baby. Just burn it to the ground. All right. So it thinks that it's fixed voting. Let's see if it has. It has not. It has not. And now we are firmly in vibe coding territory. Let's try proposing. +1. We get an issue. It threw an error. Let's copy what the error was. Let's give it the error. And let's see if it can't figure it out. And if this doesn't work, then we will just move on with our lives because I think now we're at the 35-minute mark and I've shown you this has potential. It requires a strong, firm hand to keep it on track, but it's pretty amazing that it can do this, all things said. I'm going to go into the data directory just because I'm wondering if these things being older and potentially stale might be having some impact. So I just deleted those. And I guess while we wait, since this is meant to be a collaborative app, you might wonder, well, how do I expose this? This is just on localhost. The answer is you could put it up on a server like AWS, or you could use something like ngrok to expose the port you have running on your machine to other people. And I'll show that in just a minute. Let's see if this fixed it. Oh, tragic. Tragic. It did not. But we will show how to expose things. And so my process from here would be going through all the changes and getting a sense of kind of what changed and what could impact the voting logic. And I'm not going to do this live because it could potentially take a very long time. But I would look at that and I would give it very specific instructions on how to fix it. And just as proof that I'm not just a bullshit artist, you guys saw my other prototype where it worked, same fundamental process. So let's talk about how to expose this to the outside world. Let's clear some space here. We're going to go down to our terminal. And I have this fantastic thing called ngrok that I have installed. And it allows you to expose a port. So I'm exposing port 3000 on the broader internet. Now, obviously, you want to be careful with this because anybody is going to be able to use the URL at this point to come into my machine and interact with port 3000. It's a free application. It's really good. So you can see it gives me, there's a lot of information here, my name, I'm on the free plan, etc. It gives me a URL right here, and this is a publicly accessible URL. So let's go back to Chrome, and let's go to that URL. And we get a warning that says this is going through ngrok. Be careful, are you sure? The answer is yes, I am. And we can get through to our application here. By the time you watch this video, I will have brought this down, and so it won't be available at this URL, but this is a nice way that if you want to just show somebody else, hey, here's what I did, interact with this, play with this, hey mom, come on down and see my cool new voting application. You could do it. All right, thank you very much. This was a talk that I prepared for the Boston AI ML user group where we're going to do some live coding, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.